We're live.
Let's do it
Welcome.
live.
Welcome to Ada Continues, episode 249. 249 coming at you right now live at youtube.com/Ada Continues. We go up every Monday on adacontinues.com as an MP3. Talk about video games and related topics. I'm your host, Stafa. For those of you that are new to the show, and each week I have a different guest host or guest hosts. This week only one guest host, and his name is Mr. Kevin.
Yo, yo.
How you doing, Mr. Kevin?
Doing pretty good. How about you?
All right. I like how stern your voice got all of a sudden. Hello.
Yo.
Yes, I am Mr. Kevin.
Yeah.
Recognize. Yes. So we have a special guest host this week, a professional person who does things on a computer professionally.
This is true.
Yes. And what a coincidence! I'm also a professional person who does things on a computer.
And this is also true.
Whoa! What a coincidence!
What?
So anyways, while I am reaching over here to get more sunlight, there we go. I think that's a little better. We're gonna this week's episode. We're gonna talk about worlds, environments, and different types of themes within games that we like or don't like or whatever. We're gonna talk about that type of stuff. And after that, we got some quick announcements, and then we're gonna follow up with some news. We got news this week. News happened.
Things happen.
Gamescom is happening right now, but we don't have all the news from that because it's happening right now. We're not there though because unfortunately it's right around the corner, and I don't know. I just can't bring my equipment with me over there, so it's just my equipment is not portable, so that's the only reason why I can't go. But I'll peer around the corner and get a peek.
Yep.
Over the internet.
Yep.
All right. So before we go on, just one quick disclaimer: all opinions that will be expressed on this show are of our own and not representative of our employers, whether past, present, or future. Yep. So let's get going and talk about our main topic. Just talk about the different themes that we find in video game worlds, video game environments, all that stuff. So let's start talking about the ones that we do like first, and if we have time, then we'll maybe go into a rant and complain about the ones we don't like.
Yeah.
If we have time. But let's focus on the stuff that we do like. And I know, Kevin, that we share a common interest in this specific type of theme of cyberpunk.
Yes, absolutely. Cyberpunk is definitely my favorite subgenre of sci-fi, and it's my favorite genre, setting type ever, I think. Yeah. I really enjoy the cyberpunk theme. There's a lot of nuances in it that make it. It's got it.
Let's explain what cyberpunk is for those people who are like, "What the heck is a cyberpunk?"
All right,
an internet version of a Blink-182 fan. What is this? What's going on? What's a cyberpunk? So.
Okay, so cyberpunk is, as I mentioned, it's a subgenre of sci-fi, but it's usually it focuses more on the what's the right word? It's almost like a little bit darker, more dystopian style to a point. It's some of the best examples of cyberpunk are in video games are like Deus Ex.
Yes.
You have a lot of focus on the ideas that corporations are either using their power for bad, or it's uh, for bad purposes, or there's like there's not like military control over the city, or there's just not as much freedom or openness to how things are run. It's a very dark, grim, almost kind of like you would, like I said, dystopian. I guess is it's the general theme that you see in cyberpunk.
When I describe cyberpunk to somebody, first I start with the base of sci-fi, and when you think sci-fi in general, you think of something like Star Trek. I feel like Star Trek is like the poster child for sci-fi. You're out in space, you're interacting with aliens. That's like the most common form of sci-fi. Now, cyberpunk, it's not that, it's not as far into the future as that. You're not going into space. You're not interacting with aliens for the most part. It's like an in-between modern day and, Star Trek, where you still see things that are familiar with, your modern day cities, but you definitely have futuristic things like cybernetic enhancements, cyborgs, androids, things of that nature.
Yep.
And I feel like that's like as far as like the visuals, the visual theme, like that that has a large part with it. Like people walking around with augmentations, just cyborg limbs, and just stuff like that.
Yep.
So that's how I describe cyberpunk. That it being somewhere in the middle between modern day and straight up sci-fi.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think the idea of it being like the whole aspect of the punk, quote unquote, aspect of cyberpunk really focuses on I don't know, I'm at a loss for words here. Basically, I'm not sure how to quite explain it, but it's almost like what you would imagine. I mean, if you look at some of the apartments in like Hong Kong or some of those other high population areas where they pretty much stack as many rooms as they can into the tightest space as possible. It's almost like a
sardines.
Yeah, it's almost like not the best living conditions, not the it's like not high class type of environments that you typically see in
like a slum environment.
Yeah, that's actually a good word. The slum type of environments. That's what really gets focused on a lot in these cyberpunk settings.
Yeah, like I think one of the most popular works of fiction that's within cyberpunk is probably Blade Runner.
Yep.
That really focused on the whole like what was it, Hong Kong that was in Blade Runner? I can't remember, but it had like some type of Asian theme to it. And Blade Runner, it's a movie that you're either really into or you're not into it at all, and I'm not into it. I watched it and I was like, it's a bit boring. I don't know. I really like Cyberpunk, but Blade Runner was just
it is a slower paced one.
I expected something else out of that. It's not an action movie. You expect something more action oriented because it's Harrison Ford.
Yeah, it's more noir, like detective story almost. It's like cyberpunk noir, I think, is what they consider Blade Runner to be.
And also like it goes into like philosophy, like what is life?
Yeah,
like these androids don't know they're androids, so are they not alive? That's pretty much the theme that movie goes into. So yeah, but Cyberpunk is definitely one that I really love. And you mentioned Deus Ex, which is, as far as the gaming perspective, that's the most popular
Yeah, I'd say that's
game.
a prime example when it comes to cyberpunk in games.
Hmm.
And speaking of cyberpunk in games, I'm really looking forward to what CD Projekt Red does with Cyberpunk 2077.
Hmm.
Because if anyone has heard me speaking about the Witcher series on this podcast before, you'll know that I'm absolutely in love with that series, and I love everything that CD Projekt Red does and what they stand for. And I feel like if they take Witcher 3, which is my favorite game of all time at the moment, and they just make it cyberpunk, like basically that's what Cyberpunk 2077 is supposed to be. It's like taking the Witcher open world RPG mechanics and putting it into a cyberpunk setting.
Hmm.
And that's definitely something that I'm hoping will set a new standard for just the cyberpunk genre in games. Because right now, definitely Deus Ex is the reigning champion of that.
Um, oh man, why am I having a brain fart on the name of this game? Uh, give me 1 second.
Is it like
Games.
what genre is the game? I mean, like gameplay
Oh,
genre.
okay, Shadowrun. Yeah,
Oh,
that's the name of the
yeah,
game. Okay, so Shadowrun, it mixes cyberpunk as well as fantasy,
yeah,
and like Shadowrun is a series of games that's on in both video games and tabletop. Like there's basically like D&D
yeah. It's a pen and
tabletop.
paper
Yeah.
RPG like D&D, but in a cyberpunk fantasy setting.
Hmm. Yeah, and I think that's a really cool world. I tried playing Shadowrun Returns, the one that got kickstarted.
Yep.
That game has issues, like saving issues. Like it only saves at certain points in the campaign.
Mm.
Like there's no like actual save point. Like it just saves in certain spots, and also like the story got really stupid. Like giant spiders. Like the characters that were with me straight up said like they couldn't believe how dumb it got themselves. They're like, this is really dumb. And I'm thinking the same thing. I'm like, wow, this is really dumb. But yeah, I mean, like other than Shadowrun Returns being dumb, like I really like the Shadowrun universe just
Yep.
just from the fact that it mixes cyberpunk and fantasy, and that's something that you don't see anywhere else.
Yeah. I do like it when different genres combine like that. I mean, Firefly, the TV series, they combine Western with sci-fi, so it
Yeah.
has a very unique feel to it, very unique style. Um, Warhammer 40K mixes fantasy with sci-fi, so you get like orcs that are using these
Kill the
like
Space Marines!
yeah, like they're just
Boy, you riding on a Karagor!
duct taped vehicles with like paint them all red because they think anything that's painted red goes faster and is better
Yep.
using these guns. It's a really cool mash of
with like bazookas
yeah
for arms.
yep. So like whenever a genre gets mashed with another completely different genre like that, it usually turns out fairly well. It doesn't happen incredibly often, but when it does, I don't think I can think of any bad example of one. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, I like it when the genres are mashed like that.
Yeah. So kind of started talking about fantasy a little bit. Like fantasy it's not one that I can like just talk about in a broad sense because there's just so much different types of fantasy. So I
Yeah,
guess the better thing for this discussion would be for us to like, pinpoint specific games with their worlds. Like I guess the Souls, Dark Souls games. They have a very specific feel with their fantasy, like a very dark world where obviously no one's having a good time in this world.
Yeah.
No one at all. Like this world sucks for everybody,
Yeah.
and like I know it's heavily inspired from Berserk, which is a manga and anime, and I know there's like a new Berserk anime going on right now. But overall, the creators of Dark Souls said, yeah, we use Berserk as inspiration for Dark Souls, and yeah, like I've talked about Berserk before. Like it's a world that sucks, and Dark Souls is also a world that sucks. You don't want to live. If we want to like make like our 5 worst worlds to live in, did we do that before? I don't know. I don't think we have.
I don't remember. We should probably do that.
I don't
I
think
remember
we
we
have.
had
But
like a 5 best or 5 worst companions to have.
yeah, but like if we like
From
make our
video games.
5 worst worlds to live in, I'm pretty sure Dark Souls would be like at least number 2. It's you wouldn't want to live in that type of world.
Yeah.
Other type of like games with fantasy you want to like just talk about for a moment.
Yeah. So one of I guess whenever people think of fantasy, uh, the most common type of fantasy is what's I guess considered Tolkienian, because it kind of started off with how Tolkien wrote the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit series, and a lot of fantasy themes are based off of his writings. You get things like elves and orcs and humans and
Tolkien invented orcs.
mhm.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
before Tolkien started writing, there was no such thing. I mean, no such fictional race as an orc,
yeah,
and he was the one who first started writing about orcs.
yeah,
So
yeah. So he's had a huge influence on the fantasy genre. So a lot of the things that you see that are based in fantasy are based off of his work. And a lot of that fantasy it's like high fantasy where you've got magic or I think even like anything that you would consider D&D, like that was very much based off of Tolkien's work.
mhm.
um, and so I think that's something that most people identify as fantasy when they think about it. It's the first thing that comes to mind. But and a lot of games use fantasy in their work. I mean, not Lord of the Rings, Elder Scrolls. That's a prime example of open world fantasy series, and they've done a great job with also just giving different environment types for each of the major provinces in that series. Like when you go to the Morrowind areas, it's all mushroom forests and volcanic areas, and then you go to Cyrodiil, which is where Oblivion takes place, and that's more just your generic, rolling hills and forests and.
Yeah, I do like I mean, I'm not I haven't played much of the Elder Scrolls games. I played like I don't know 20 some hours of Skyrim, which is not a lot of Skyrim.
That's like playing 2 seconds of any other game.
But I do like when I read into those games, I do like the fact that they have like one big world map, and like each game takes place in a different country, or was a country or continent, whatever.
Yeah, they're like
Either way,
provinces. Yeah.
yeah. So it's just kind of cool that they expand on that universe.
Yep. I'm trying to think if there's any other.
I guess like the World of Warcraft has has a huge lore behind their world. I mean, from the comments I've been reading, people talking about like a lot of people coming out of the woodworks trying to defend the Warcraft movie.
Mhm.
When that movie came out, I still haven't watched it.
Yeah,
but
me either.
um, you know, a lot of people are saying Warcraft deserves a good movie because the lore is at this point more deep than like Tolkien's work because it spans so many games. I mean, especially with like all the expansions of World of Warcraft,
Yeah,
and it's been worked on by teams rather than just Tolkien being one person.
yeah, and they've
So,
also got novels, and those expand a lot on the history and the lore of the games. And I think if I remember correctly, the World of Warcraft wiki is the second largest wiki in the world,
hmm.
only like falling behind Wikipedia. And so it has more information out there than several other games combined. Um, and it's just kind of impressive that they've got that much lore behind all of the games and all of the books that they've written. And more lore just makes the world feel that much more alive
Yeah.
and makes it more believable because you've got reasons for everything. You've got backstories for all characters and how certain events have changed, how the cities were developed, and how specific groups of people were affected by these changes or events. So it just makes everything so much more detailed and makes it a lot more immersive and believable.
Yeah, like I love when a world in fiction has history,
Yes.
like, and like these things happened generations ago, and like with Warcraft, I mean that whole lore spans over generations. Like
Mm-hmm.
the characters from the first Warcraft are either dead or really old by World of Warcraft now, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like I mean that just the fact that that they span generations um just adds so much to it.
Yeah. And the
Makes it
thing that
feel
I
more
really
alive.
exactly. And the thing that I like is they're making all this lore and history for aspects of the game that you may never even experience. Like they're making these historical events that don't directly affect you or your game's story, but because they want to build reasons for everything.
Hmm.
And I just think that's a really it's a really cool thing to do, and it becomes really impressive just how detailed a lot of things can be. Even though you feel like you're playing an Elder Scrolls game and you find a book, and if you actually read through them, learn information about all these people that you're never going to meet in the game. Like they're not NPCs; uh, they're just stories,
Yeah.
and just a lot of detail goes into that and a lot of work, and it
Um,
makes the game that much better.
to correct myself earlier, we did do a worst worlds to live in because I remember giving the rule that we can't pick a world from a game from a horror, a
Oh,
horror genre.
I remember that.
Yeah, so we
Yeah.
did do that. But yeah. Any other like fantasy games we want to talk about real quick before we like move on to like a different world or theme or something.
No, I think we should try to fit in as many as we can
All right.
since we went to something new.
I want to mention the Borderlands
Yeah.
world. What's the world called? Uh,
Door? No.
no,
Is it Pan?
it's Pandora. Yes, Pandora.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yes, the world Pandora.
Yeah,
That is an insane world.
it is. It's crazy how it's basically post-apocalyptic, but at the same time, it's not post-apocalyptic. It's like a weird combination of the two because it's not post-apocalyptic. Well, actually, I don't know. I think there was some kind of event that had caused everything to go wrong, but
Mhm.
I don't remember the
I mean,
details.
I mean, the lore itself isn't incredibly deep, but like there's bits and pieces here and there that
Hmm.
give it enough flavor.
Yeah.
And like it has the whole like Mad Max type theme, and also you have like the corporations like Hyperion floating in space stations that's like nice and clean and sophisticated, but they're still crazy themselves because they like dispose of humans like nothing. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, our employees aren't working. Well, let's kill them.
Yeah.
Boom, dead. Like even they're savage. Even though like they're nice and clean and everything, they're still as savage as the psychos that are on Pandora.
Yeah.
Arguably even more crazy than the psychos. But
Mm.
yeah, I need to get through that Tales from the Borderlands.
Yeah, I
Because
actually bought that not during the last sale, but I think the sale before the last one. And
like
I haven't even started that
I've
yet.
seen people leave comments saying that it's the best of the Telltale games so far.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I
So I mean,
haven't played very many. The only games that I've played by Telltale are Walking Dead and Wolf Among Us.
hmm
And I think Wolf Among Us is my favorite out of those two.
hmm pretty good.
Yeah.
But yeah, Borderlands is definitely one worth mentioning. Do you have a game that you want to mention?
Yeah, actually, I was just thinking about this. I also kind of like it when games that aren't necessarily sequels or directly related to each other kind of share a world. One of my favorite examples of this is Half-Life and Portal.
hmm
And it's really cool how they make references to each other's because so Portal takes place through a company called Aperture,
hmm
and not Valve. Half-Life is kind of focusing on Black Mesa and what happened at Black Mesa to cause the aliens from different dimensions and worlds to come in. And so you'll hear references. And so basically, Black Mesa and Aperture are two competing science laboratories, research laboratories. And so you'll hear references about each side in each game. So, you'll have GLaDOS in Portal mocking Black Mesa's work, or you'll have Black Mesa talking about some research about AI that's been going on at Aperture that's all super secretive. And it's just really awesome when games reference each other like that because you're expanding the avenue of what these games are doing. And so, like, if you play Portal and Half-Life, they all of a sudden feel not they start off feeling isolated, like it's just this is what happens in this isolated little story, but when
hmm
they reference each other it makes the world feel huge and that much more detailed. And I'm pretty sure there's a lot of games that actually share a universe and they just make subtle hints towards that.
I know Volition's games share the
Yeah.
same universe. Like they had Red Faction. It's no longer owned by them anymore because of
Mhm.
THQ having to sell their assets off. So, but they had Red Faction sharing the same universe as Saints Row because like the same evil corporation was it like Ultron or something like that or um,
I don't remember. I didn't
yeah,
actually play through all of the Saints Row games.
Altor,
Mm.
yeah, Altor was the company, but that was like the evil corporation in both of those games, and the new game that they're working on, like Agents of Mayhem, also
Mhm.
has Altor.
Oh, nice.
So and like it also has like they also showed like the Saints, the Saints, the gang, their
Mhm.
logo, like a altered version of it. So like they're not saying this game is a sequel to Saints Row. It's just like in the same shared universe as
Yeah.
Saints Row.
Huh. That's
So
interesting.
yeah, I think that's cool when you know developers like to expand on their universe with more than just sequels, but
Yeah.
spin-offs.
Yeah.
Anything else you wanna mention, like sci-fi?
Well, I guess we really can't talk about sci-fi without mentioning Mass Effect.
Yep.
I think that's one of the most recognized and most recent uh, huge sci-fi series.
Hmm.
Something that BioWare has always been good at is,
Mostly good at.
yeah, actually, I should reword that. Not always. They're mostly good at, with a few exceptions, at world building and environment design.
Hmm.
And the Mass Effect series is a prime example of that. They've Because they've actually went through the detail and not only created uh, these different planets that and this like in a really robust story, but they actually went through and created so many unique species of aliens. One thing that it's kind of funny that when people think about like unique aliens, one thing that gets mocked a lot is like the original Star Trek series because they would um, just because of their budget
You
and the
wear like
technology.
Halloween costumes.
Yeah, it's like everyone is humanoid, and they look relatively the same, but because of the lore of that species or just one minor visual detail, they're considered something completely different, or
Yeah,
they
like
just look,
I have green skin.
yeah, or they look completely
Ooh.
human, but they're on a different planet, so they're aliens. But
Yep.
I mean, like with Mass Effect, they went through and actually created extremely unique alien species, and they all have uh, their own completely different styles, both
Different anatomies.
artistically. Sorry.
Different anatomy.
Yeah, different anatomy, and then they're just the way that they think and the way that they act and their culture. Like BioWare put a lot of detail into the culture of each alien race.
Yeah.
I mean, like you look at the Asari, and it's all female. Well, I mean, like they resemble females to what us humans understand as female, and like the way that they reproduce is through mind connection. And then you've got the Krogan, which are very reptilian, and then you also have humans in there. And like if you just look at some of the artwork that went into creating these species, it's vastly unique and vastly different,
Hmm.
and they put a lot of work into that. And it's easily one of the most uh, what's the word I'm looking for? It's like easily one of the most praised sci-fi series in
Yeah.
gaming.
It's very, very colorful, very rich.
Yep.
And then we got like the other end of sci-fi with Dead Space.
Oh, yeah.
Very dark, grim, abandoned space stations, which is also very cool. And
Yeah.
it's like, oh, people were here, and they're dead now, but oh, they left audio recordings because they want to say their last 5 seconds of life before they get killed by a monster. Yeah, I'm about to die, so I want to record myself. I left my key in the second locker. Combination 5553. I don't know why I'm saying this, but I'll have to like check that locker sometime.
Yep.
Yeah, audio recordings.
Yeah. I think another very popular setting is post-apocalyptic.
Fallout.
Obviously, yeah, Fallout is a big one right now. Well, it's been for a while. The Metro games, the Stalker games, they all kind of share this post-nuclear war uh, apocalypse. But then you've also got, when we had for a while this huge influx of survival games like DayZ, where it's zombie apocalypse and you're kind of trying to survive on the few resources that are available. And there was a lot of games that came out with that theme, so I feel like that stuff is something that's worth mentioning. And the DayZ, I think, was the one that kind of started that trend, and then everyone wanted a piece of the pie, so they made their own variation of it. And I don't know what the state is of those games. It seems like there's less of those types of games coming out now. I think a lot of people have kind of gotten fed up with just how saturated that type of game was.
Yeah.
Um,
Um, steampunk.
yep, steampunk's another huge one.
Yep. Steampunk being like the opposite of cyberpunk, where it's like it's
It's
not.
very Victorian in its style,
Yeah,
so it's a little more
yeah.
old-fashioned, not quite as tech or futuristic.
Top hats with cogs.
Yeah,
That's the definition of steampunk. If you have a top hat and it has some cogs or a cuckoo clock, then boom, it's steampunk.
yeah,
So it's not quite like a fantasy setting. It's not using magic, and it's in the past, but they have advanced technology.
yeah.
So it's really weird, and in a way,
It's all
what?
advanced, but it's like machinery that runs off of literally steam powered
Yeah,
machinery. So like, and then you got a lot of gears and pipes and things. Um, so that's kind of, and but it's all Victorian aged fashion and architecture. So that's definitely a very popular uh, genre.
yeah. In a way, Warcraft has kind of gotten into steampunk. Like they have like the mechs and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
the which
The
the
goblins and gnomes.
goblins. Yeah, I think actually World of Warcraft kind of incorporates a lot of themes because they also have a whole series of Lovecraftian horror
Yeah,
based lore. Like they have the Elder Gods in there. They've got the steampunk. They've got your standard fantasy. Um,
it's like they don't want to get bored doing the same thing, so that they throw in whatever they're into at the moment,
yeah,
and that it keeps it fresh.
it does. Yep, and
Yeah,
it keeps it so it's not stale. Like just, oh, here's another expansion with more fantasy. Like they try to make it unique and um, add some variety to the storytelling.
yeah. I mean, like there's I haven't played World of Warcraft, but I can see why people have been playing it for so long. I understand that less people are playing it now,
Hmm.
but for the longest time, people have been playing World of Warcraft, and
Yeah,
it's understandably so, considering that they've touched so many different types of themes.
yeah. And I think the decrease in players for World of Warcraft is more so just people getting a little tired of the MMO formula, not so much the themes, because I think the theme
Yeah,
of World of Warcraft is very strong. It's just the gameplay. I think is most people are feeling it's getting very stale and repetitive. I mean, like the newest expansion. I have a few friends who actually revived their WoW accounts because they wanted to give it a try because it adds a lot of things that bring it back to I guess the good days of WoW, which was back when vanilla was out, when it wasn't all casual, quote unquote. But um, most people are just leaving MMOs because of the gameplay, and they want something different now in terms of the mechanics. But the themes are still very strong with World of Warcraft, or the whole Warcraft theory theme and genre, not genre, the series.
yeah. So I've been just scrolling through my Steam library, just like
I've been doing the same.
yeah, just be like, hey, what games are worth mentioning? I feel like we covered a lot.
Yeah, a lot of the major themes kind of fall either under sci-fi, fantasy, steampunk, cyberpunk. I mean, cyberpunk is kind of is sci-fi, but a lot of things are just either. Or you also have a lot of modern day things
Yeah.
too.
I think like out of my favorites, it's those that are more fantastical.
Yeah,
Things that are more out of this world. But at the same time, like I said, Cyberpunk is my favorite, and mainly because it has enough to seem familiar, but also enough to feel out of this world. It's like a nice middle point, and that I think that's one of the reasons why I like Cyberpunk so much.
I really like the gritty aspects of cyberpunk because I always had a fascination with sci-fi in general,
Mhm.
but when it gets down to things like dystopian, I really enjoy dystopian stories. Um, those are some of my favorites, and I really enjoy things like conspiracy theories, which is something that Deus Ex really focuses on.
Hmm.
And these are major themes that you see throughout Cyberpunk, and that's kind of what draws me towards that. It's uh, a lot more about the storytelling and like the types of environments that you get with Cyberpunk, which really fascinate me.
I want to mention real quick, Magic the Gathering. Um, like they have a really similar type of variety as World of Warcraft. Like
Mm-hmm.
they touch everything as well. Like they got steampunk. They have uh, just straight up fantasy. They have your Lovecraftian, uh, y- Cthulhu equivalent with the Eldrazi.
Mm-hmm.
They got all sorts of stuff. Not just the characters are really cool, and um, you don't really explore the world itself with the Magic the Gathering games, but you get a lot of the lore from the cards themselves, with
Yeah.
the flavor text, or the characters. And
And the novels too. Like I read a few of the Magic the Gathering books, and I really enjoyed them.
mhm.
They've there's definitely a lot of variety and just a lot of unique things in that one too. Because like one of the series of books that I was reading was based on I guess the plane of Mirrodin, which is like a tire. Everything is metal.
Hmm.
So like there's you go through these fields where the grass is literally razor blades of metal. The trees are all metallic. Uh,
Beautiful.
yeah. So that was really interesting. And like as I was reading the book, the whoever the author was, I don't remember. As I was reading it though, it was very detailed in the explanation. So it was I could picture everything as I
Mhm.
was reading it.
Oh, I see a couple of games on my library I want to mention with cool worlds. Mirror's Edge has
Yep.
a really clean looking world. It's just very pretty to look at. And Monday Night Combat, I like. I like the world of Monday Night Combat. It takes the whole like Running Man, future sports thing,
Mm.
and just makes it ridiculous.
Yeah.
And like, man, I just wish they did more with it, because like they made the base for like kind of expanding more with their world with Super Monday Night Combat, but then they're like, oh, we're done with this game.
Yeah.
No more. I don't know. Are we good at stopping?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. All right, cool. Yeah, listeners, share with us what games you think have really cool worlds, or what type of themes do you like with your worlds and environments. Let us know. Podcast at advocatees.com. And one thing that has like an amazing world that is second to none and is unmatched, Kevin.
Uh, I don't know, but I feel like it's something that seen in my dreams before.
Did you host those dreams?
Possibly.
Well, if you did, then you're in the right place, because DreamHost is what you're looking for. They're a web service that offers unlimited storage, unlimited bandwidth, user-friendly interface. They're also optimized to use content managers such as WordPress.
Ooh.
WordPress. You add an L in there, and that's WorldPress, but that'll get you probably something that you don't want. So WordPress. All that many more features just for $7.95 in U.S. currency, the good currency. If you use the promo code out of continues, way to set it fee, get you a free domain registration. So whoa, unbelievable! It's out of this world.
Nice.
Yep, I'm amazing. So yeah, let's start talking about some news topics. So I'm gonna screen share this real quick with the viewers. hide that. Okay. All right. So let's talk about Final Fantasy 15. It was supposed to be coming out next month, and now it's been delayed till November 29th. So they delayed it like a couple months.
I thought you were about to say 2019. I was like, whoa, huge delay.
No, just a couple months. You know, my assumption is they probably found some sort of a game-breaking glitch and are like, this can't go out.
Yeah.
We gotta get this fixed ASAPs.
Well, I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I am always in favor of delays because it just means that the game gets to cook a little bit more.
Yeah, like they said something about they want to focus on polishing it up a little bit. And I don't know, 2 months it seems pretty specific, especially, you know, this late, you know, in the release schedule. You know, like we're close to a month away from its release date, and yeah, boom. Final Fantasy 15 delayed. Moving on. Let's talk about the Rocket Leagues. So, man, Rocket League, they're on a roll with like getting these updates out. They are transforming the game. They want to keep people playing. Rocket League, bam, 8-sided arena. Right here. There's a picture of it. It's an octagon.
Should be a big stop sign in the middle.
That would be a thing. What are your thoughts on this octagon?
It'll be interesting. It changes up. I'm assuming it will change up some tactics that you would have used previously.
Yep, and you can like ride around the entire wall.
Yeah. I mean, you could kind of do that before, but the whole gameplay was kind of centered around this rectangular stadium.
Yeah.
And a lot of strategies, I'm sure, have been built around that. And so changing up the playfield literally will make for some interesting changes in tactics and how people, tackle specific situations.
Yeah, this is a very big change, or not change, but it's an option, but it's a very big move because, like, think about real soccer. You're playing soccer in a rectangle all the time. Now, all of a sudden, it's like, hey, instead of playing it in a rectangle, let's play in a triangle instead.
Yeah.
It completely changes it up. Imagine if NFL decide one day, all right, we're going to have a special arena. It's a circle just for the Super Bowl. It's going to be a circle. It's insanity. Like, when it comes to other games like shooters, having more maps is, it's used for adding variety to the game to prevent people from using the same tactics and following the same paths, etc. Hiding in the same spots. With a game like Rocket League, which is basically soccer, it's all about your team versus the other team. It's not about the map. It's about the players working together to defeat the other team. And then now that you're adding in the whole, like, hey, now we got another map, changes things up.
Yep.
You got to have those new strategies in. And are you going to use the ride around the walls all the way around strategy? No, you're not, because that'd be dumb. But what are the strategies you're going to come up with now?
Yeah.
So, yeah, you have anything that you want to add?
Yep. Actually, I will just say I'm interested in seeing or hearing what, I guess, if there are any professional Rocket League players, what their thoughts are on the change in the playfield.
Well, this professional player named Shantmaster_K says looks sweet.
Yeah.
And
Super pro right there.
Yep, this person kebabs says good. Urban Central is easily the most boring map with it being set in the rain. I would have liked a sunny Manfield look for DHF. What the heck is this guy even talking about? I don't even know. And Wexorian says there's no stop to this game. Keep it up. All right, let's move on.
All right, professional opinions.
Professional opinions and Fug community telling me to join the game. Team Fortress 2. No thanks. I'd rather play Team Fortress 3. I mean Overwatch.
Yep.
Speaking of Valve, Half-Life 3 poster at Gamescom. So outside of Gamescom, there is a bunch of posters, like giant posters for games like Titanfall 2, Sniper 3, some other games. You got at the very end it says, let me get the exact translation. So it says Half-Life 3, and below it says, where is the translation? Let me get it real quick. Half-Life. 3 editors who played it back then.
Yeah, but the way that they put it, it's Half-Life 3 on one line in big letters, and then editors who played it back then is in smaller font below Half-Life 3.
So it's a poster for a what's it called? A panel of 3 editors who played Half-Life. That's it. Sneaky.
I wonder how many people saw the poster. I wonder how many people actually saw that poster as they were walking up to the convention center and just completely lost their minds.
Had to change their pants.
Yeah. And then I wonder how many people actually saw that poster but didn't read the smaller text below Half-Life 3, and then just went through the entire Gamescom thinking that Half-Life 3 was going to be announced here.
Well, whoever put up that poster spent too much money on it. I'll guarantee you that.
They spent too much money, but it's funny. So it was worth it.
Let's talk about Windows 10. Let's talk about Xbox Game Preview, which is the Xbox One equivalent to Steam's Early Access. It's coming to Windows 10. Yay.
Yay. The moment I've been waiting for.
Yay? Question mark?
Yeah, question mark.
Yeah, this is what we don't need. More areas, more stores, more digital stores to sell us unfinished games.
Yeah. And I especially if they're going to handle it like Steam Early Access does, where anyone can kind of get their game on there.
Yeah.
And then just collect money and then ditch the project later on. If they have ways to prevent that from happening, awesome. But I can guarantee you that it is impossible to completely stop that.
Now, I'm one who, likes to be pro developer.
Yeah.
Like I like to support developers as much as if something's good for the developers, I usually am in support of it. But this, these type of early access stores is only beneficial for developers and not for consumers. It's not beneficial for consumers at all. It's only beneficial for developers. And I, as much as I am pro developer, I am also pro consumer. There needs to be a balance, and this is anti-consumer. And I don't support these. I don't like them. I don't support them. Get them out of my face.
Yeah. And there was a time when I was all for early access. Back when Kickstarter was becoming a big thing.
Yep.
I looked
Me
at.
too.
I was pretty active on Kickstarter. I'd go to Kickstarter actively, like intentionally, and take a look at some games that I could back or
Me too.
other projects. And then after I've probably backed, I don't know, probably around 10 or so different projects.
Me too.
Kickstarter, and then I've bought several early access games. I've bought games that are not even on Kickstarter or Steam early access that were kind of like accepting like PayPal entry to get the beta version of the game. And after just being burned, one or two too many times,
Space
yeah, that
DF9.
that is the one that hurts the most. Like I was actually looking.
I'm just like pressing it into you, like I'm putting out a cigarette into your skin. Just
Yeah.
Space DF9.
Oh my gosh, I was so excited for that game. I absolutely loved being part of the early access for that, and I can't forgive Double Fine for doing what they did with Space because
what if they offer you a job?
I'd take it,
But you still won't forgive them.
I still won't forgive them for what they did to Space. But yeah, like there's just a lot of people who have taken advantage of the consumers through these early access services. Another big one that kind of affected me was Cube World. It was supposed to be like an RPG that followed Legend of Zelda style temples in an open world, procedurally generated voxel based environment that looked like Minecraft. It was actually a really cool concept, and unfortunately the developer for that would go several months without saying anything or doing any patches or updates. And I think the last time an update came out was back in 2012 or 2013, and the last tweet that he ever had on his Twitter account was not too long after that.
I'm still alive.
Yeah, and it was basically, and then someone interviewed him and said, why don't you ever release updates or even just talk about the game as you're working on it so that people know that you at least are working on it? And his response was, well, of course I'm working on it. That should be a given. And me just coming out and saying, yep, it's still happening is useless. And honestly, that he's approaching that the wrong way. We don't need to say just, yep, we're still working on it. We need to see, what are you working on?
What is being worked on?
Yeah, give us updates on your progress on specific things, not just, yeah, we're making progress.
It's what are you working on right now? The game?
Yeah. Just do a developer.
Not that. Be more specific.
Yeah, just do a developer blog. Even if it's once a month, just release a blog update that's okay, so here's what I worked on this month, and here's some video of it, and here's some screenshots, and the update's going to go live in a couple days, and go ahead and play it and give me feedback. Interact with your audience. Don't leave them hanging. Don't let them think that they're not being given what they're due. Essentially, if you're going to use.
Let's wrap this up since this became a Kevin.
Became a rant.
Yeah. Kevin's experience of being burned with Kickstarter.
Yeah.
So yeah. In short, neither of us are in support of this. Get it out of our faces.
Yeah.
Moving on. New Overwatch map.
I'm excited for this.
Or Eschenwald. I think that probably would be a V because it's German.
Yeah.
Eschenwald.
Or Eschenwald. I don't know. I don't know how to pronounce that.
New map. German castle. So they released a trailer showing off this German castle, and goes through the village. It looks like it's probably a payload map. Is that?
It is. It is a new payload map. Yep.
Yeah.
Escort.
All right. Awesome.
So this one I'm actually excited for, primarily because of one reason. Well, first of all, the map actually looks really cool.
Yes.
The videos that they showed and the screenshots that are released, like everything is, there's a lot of detail in this one. And I think this map has more side paths than any of the other maps, if I looked at it carefully and correctly. But there's a lot of secondary and tertiary paths that you can take. So there's a lot of opportunity for flanking the other team or using those to your advantage if you're, trying to avoid being flanked and to keep the payload moving.
Yeah.
But
they mentioned that they wanted to do something different with this map, and so like in the middle of the map, there's a very vertical part of the map which isn't really done in any other map. So that's pretty cool.
But I think one of my absolute favorite things about this map is that the payload actually interacts with the environment this time. So if you look at some of the other escort maps in Overwatch, you've got like King's Row where you're escorting the bomb from point A to point B. And it's a hybrid map technically because you first have to capture the point and then you escort the payload. And then in Route 66, you're just moving a car from point A to point B. Kind of similar with, I think it's Numbani where you kind of first capture the point and then escort the vehicle. But in this one,
they do that.
In this one, the payload is actually a battering ram. And so you're starting off at one end of this town that's right outside the castle, and you're taking this battering ram to the castle itself, and then the battering ram actually will knock down the door of the castle.
That's pretty cool.
And then it moves into the castle. So that actually is awesome that they're actually making the payload itself interact with the environment. Even though it's pretty minimal, like they didn't have to do that. It's just a nice detail that they've added.
Yeah.
I will say one thing that I really want Blizzard to do, and this is not directly related to this specific map, but just in general, all of the hybrid maps, like King's Row and Numbani, they start you off with first capturing a point and then escorting the payload to the end. But what I want them to do is to make a map that's inverted, where you start off with the payload and then you take it to the end point, but then you have to capture that point and hold it. I feel like that would just add a little bit of variety and give it a different dynamic because you first have to take the payload and then you have to
and it would add like a little bit more urgency for the defending team.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, we got some overtime,
Yeah.
Like pretty much with the payload maps, overtime is only for the attacking team to make that last push to inch their way to the end.
Yeah.
While like if it were the other way around, if it was a capture point at the end, then the overtime would be for the defending team to try to hold it off, and get everybody off of that point. So yeah, I mean that's a cool idea.
Yep, Blizzard should hire me.
Yeah. Let's connect you with the right people. I mean, you're on Out of Continues right now, so
yeah,
you're definitely being heard.
Well, that's good.
You're being heard by the right people.
Yep.
All 2 of them.
And they're on this podcast right now. Just kidding.
Yep. Yeah. How'd you know? Surprise. All right, moving on.
Like, the map itself, I think, looks really cool. I like the aesthetic, and I like the added detail and just the variation because every other map that's escort kind of just has you go from point A to point B with very few side paths just to make things a little bit different. But this one has tons of side paths that you can take, and it adds a lot of it can change the dynamic for every game because anything can happen. You can get flanked from either side. You can plan your attack from the sides. So I'm excited to play this map.
Yeah. Viewer, if you want to type something in the chat and let us know what you think of this map, type something in the chat right now.
I didn't realize we had a viewer.
We do. We had two for a second.
Oh,
Moving on. Let's talk about this game that got announced during Gamescom. This amazing, beautiful game called Metal Gear Survive. What was that song?
but I have a question first. I'd like to ask:
What's that?
Metal Gear survive without Kojima?
Thanks.
I think
Kevin.
I think that is the question that this game is.
Thanks,
trying to
Kevin.
By the way, that's not an original thing that I came up with. I saw that on Google.
Everyone asked that.
Yeah.
What were they singing in this trailer? Like "I Will Stand Alone" or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
That song did not fit, and oh man, my brain was getting fried when I was watching this. There's nothing Metal Gear about it. Like the guy gets sucked into like a portal or wormhole or something, and goes into like an alternate Metal Gear world where there's zombies, and it's like it takes place after Ground Zeroes, but it's not in the same world because they get sucked into some random portal that just popped out of nowhere, and it's just piggybacking off of the whole Metal Gear name, but like they just made a 4-player cooperative.
They made Left 4 Dead
game
with the Metal Gear title. Probably.
Well, like it says it has stealth in it. I don't know, like what the heck. How are you stealthing zombies? Is this like The Last of Us type of thing, or I don't know.
But they're definitely just trying to take advantage of the Metal Gear name, and they know that they would not have been able to sell this game, even if it was exactly what it is, but without the Metal Gear title.
So basically, they say this is not going to be a $60 game. It will be somewhere around the same price range as Ground Zeroes, which was $30 when it was first released. So I'm going to guess it's going to be like $40. That's what I think. Man, get out of here, Fug. I'm not going to play Team Fortress 2 with you. I'm doing a podcast here. Anyways, those are my thoughts. What are your thoughts, Kevin?
I have no thoughts.
You are amazed. You're going to get this day one, aren't you?
Yep. I already pre-ordered it.
Yep. Pre-ordered 3 copies.
Yeah, I'm so excited.
Yep.
The excitement is unreal.
I think you got 4 copies, 1 for yourself and 3 for your friends that don't exist, that don't want to play this game.
Yep.
So you can have your 4-player co-op.
Yep. I'm just going to have it running 4 instances of it on my computer, and we'll just pretend like I have 3 other friends who want to play this with me.
Why not?
Yep.
All right. So BioWare, they haven't shown much Mass Effect Andromeda footage yet. And the reason that they're saying is because timing is everything. They say that they haven't shown much yet because the timing isn't right now. EA is focusing on their holiday release titles such as Battlefield 1, Titanfall 2. So they want to focus on those first, but then after those are released, they're going to talk all about Mass Effect Andromeda. And that makes no sense to me. I'm calling shenanigans. Shenanigans because you're why are you going to be like, "Hey, this game that's not even coming out this year, we're not going to talk about this at all because we just want to talk about the games that are coming out this year."
Yeah, and I partially agree, and I think it's kind of ridiculous that they're making that claim, because if they're worried about games like Battlefield and Titanfall, which are primarily multiplayer games and don't really focus on a single-player campaign, with a very in-depth story, they're not even the same. They're not competing in any way. Like, they're completely different types of games that will appeal to different kinds of people, or not necessarily different kinds of people, but when people you don't necessarily have anyone who's like Battlefield over Mass Effect. Like, they're completely different, and I don't know. It's just weird that they're doing that. But
Don't lie to me, EA. You're lying to me. Show me
honestly,
that Mass Effect.
I mean,
Prove me wrong by showing me more Mass Effect right now. Oh, you don't have any Mass Effect to show? That's because you don't have any Mass Effect to show. Mass Effect Andromeda doesn't even exist.
that I don't
Doesn't
agree.
even exist. It's not even in development yet. Prove to me that it's in development by sending me a copy of the game right now. Let's
Uh,
put your money where your mouth is.
We were just talking about early access here, Staffa, and how it's not very good. We don't want the game right now.
Hey, they're saying that they don't want to compete with their own games. So obviously, Mass Effect Andromeda is done. So let me see it. Let me see it.
Honestly, I'm kind of okay with this though, because it just means that we shouldn't expect Mass Effect to come out unfinished and unpolished.
Well, it's supposed to be coming out like next year.
I really hope. I remember.
I want to
hearing
see
something about that.
I want to see Mass Effect. Also, I just want to be hyped for Mass Effect again.
I'm just not happy that it's coming out Q1.
Like I just don't. You know, I'm still bitter about Mass Effect 3, and I want to like Mass Effect again. So show me the good stuff, and get me on that right now.
I'm okay with waiting. I will say if it came out Q4 2017, I'd be happy.
I never asked for this. I hear Deus Ex is getting good reviews.
Yeah, I'm excited. I want to play that.
Let's move on.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about Facebook's new gaming platform, in which they are partnering up with Unity. And let's see,
Whenever Facebook gets involved with something, it turns out to be bad.
So basically, it's like it's similar to Steam, where it is what would you call it? A
digital distribution platform.
Well, that's not the one I'm looking for. Like a launcher.
Like I guess a game library and manager / launcher.
Yeah, like you can browse through the games, and like you can browse through different genres, and it'll give you notifications on updates like, oh, you finally got your energy in Candy Crush. You can play more now. And like I use Candy Crush as an example, not to be ironic, but because that is like the type of games you're going to have on there, because they are the Facebook games.
Yeah.
The games that you play on browser through Facebook, but rather than having them be played on browser, it's going to be, you can launch them through this, this new digital distribution platform. And it's supposedly the games run faster through this as well, because you're not playing them through the browser. And so like I said, they're teaming up with Unity to get this going, and it's going to use the Unity engine. And I don't know, like I think this is a good move, if they want to like really take their gaming division seriously, which I know they do. They make lots of money off of Facebook games, but web browser is not the ideal place to have your gaming stuff. So I think this is a good move, but I don't see this like getting anywhere near as mainstream as Steam.
Yeah, and I don't really think that they intend it to.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like you were mentioning, just the types of games that Facebook social games, the type of people that these social games attract aren't going to be the same type of people that have Steam accounts.
Yeah, or enthusiastic enough to with games to install something like Steam.
Yeah, and honestly, I mean, like I guess there's not really anything against more casual players having Steam accounts, because there are fairly casual games on Steam that you can get, but they're they're not the same types of social games that you get on Facebook's
Plus, you
platforms.
gotta consider all the people that like play games on Facebook at work.
Yeah, and actually,
That's different from like actually installing a gaming platform.
yeah, and actually, the thing that I was just thinking, as I was finishing my last sentence, I don't even know. Actually, I don't know if I can say this is a good move because if you think about it, the
I'm
types of
thinking
people,
about it.
the types of games that are on social media, these social games, you don't really necessarily find people who would like it would take the time to install that game or something on a computer. Like I
Yeah.
can see if they had done this. I mean, it wouldn't be useful on mobile because you already installed the app and it's kind of a native app that's running the game. But honestly, the types of games that you see on Facebook are better suited for mobile gameplay because the types of games are just, oh, I want a like a 5-10 minute commute to work. Let me just go ahead and you know get my get to the next level of Candy Crush, or let me go ahead
Well,
and
this is gonna be
harvest.
for PC, not for mobile.
Right, but I mean, like the games that you typically get on social media like Facebook are mobile games.
Yeah.
Like you don't.
I'm pretty sure whenever this launches, uh, for people who do play the games on browser, which it knows, where people play. Facebook knows if they play on browser or on their phone or whatever. I'm pretty sure they're gonna see like some big stupid ad saying, "Hey, download this, new whatever it's called, Facebook gaming, whatever, Funhouse," and
Yeah,
it's gonna keep nagging them to download it until they actually do download it.
yeah. I don't know. I think I'm just seeing a discrepancy in uh this over like I don't see this overlap between uh Facebook social games and the need or the necessity to install something on your computer because most of these games are like I said they're you play for 5 minutes and you have to wait till your energy replenishes or you buy more energy.
Yep.
That's a typical social game. I'm not saying that every social game is like that, but uh
Man, what
I
happened to the good old days with Mafia Wars?
uh I don't know. I don't think this is a I have to disagree and say that I don't think this is a good move
Okay.
because I feel like there's just a discrepancy in the audience and the platform.
Mm.
Because honestly, Facebook, if they're making a platform that's kind of like Steam, I feel like I don't want to generalize, but the types of people who are going to be playing Facebook games are not the type of people who are going to be sitting at a computer specifically to play games. If that makes any sense,
Mm.
people like you and I, we actually have custom built computers. We've taken the time to
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
build their computers to be able to play games. But the people who play Facebook games or social games, they're just like they need a 5-10 minute distraction, or they need something to do on their commute to work or to something somewhere else, or they need.
I don't think I don't think everybody who plays those games only play it for 5 to 10 minutes. A lot of the
Yeah,
people
that's
do
true.
play for long periods of time, and those are the only type of games that they play.
Yeah, maybe I don't know. Like I said, I hate generalizing, but I just don't see someone sitting down at a computer specifically to play
Yeah.
Candy Crush
I mean,
for.
I mean, from your perspective, it's hard to understand. I mean, it's hard to look into other people's gaming habits because you have your own specific habits. So
Yeah,
I mean, I understand that, but yeah. Want to move on?
sure.
Boom. Let's talk about Telltale. So this is a long article, but to summarize it up, Telltale says they haven't been changing the gameplay format because if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Uh, there was a quote here earlier that I wanted to look at, but yeah, like basically there's something about storytelling. Well, trying to find the quote here. but I don't know. Either way, so like they're basically saying that you know the game is about the stories, and the games that they're working on, the Telltale games, are all about the stories, and like it's been working well, and why change it up when it's been working? And my response is, it's it stopped working for me.
Hmm.
It got stale. Like I played The Walking Dead season 1 and 2. I played um, uh, The Wolf Among Us. Those are the only ones I finished. I played chapter 1 or episode 1 of Tales from the Borderlands, and I just played a few minutes, like maybe 20 minutes or so of Game of Thrones. The format has gotten stale. You got to change it up. That's why you need to change it up. Not, oh, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Well,
Yeah. I think the big thing for me is the frequency that they're releasing these games,
mhm.
and they're um I don't know. I haven't played Telltale games recently. Like I don't know if I mentioned. Yeah, I also only played Walking Dead and Wolf Among Us. I have Game of Thrones. I have Tales from the Borderlands, but I haven't started them yet. I haven't even looked much into the Batman one or the Minecraft one. But I think that they kind of expanded too quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And so now there's just their new franchise. Like they announce a new series at least once every other month, or once every two, or like multiple times a year. Like they're like, oh, we got this series starting. Oh, we got a new series starting. Oh, we also have this one starting.
Yeah.
And like they've released games basically on a monthly basis.
On top of that, I feel like from like a game designer perspective on this, they aren't evolving. Like one thing about game design is that game design is constantly changing, constantly evolving. Game designers are constantly learning, and they're taking what they learn, applying that to the game design theories, and games in general are constantly changing. They are constantly evolving because of game design. And
Yeah.
the Telltale games are not evolving, they're not changing. They found one formula that worked, and they're sticking to it. And I completely disagree with this whole "if it ain't broke, don't fix it" mentality.
Yeah, I also don't like that mentality because it completely goes against the idea of innovating.
Yeah.
And especially when you're talking about a form of entertainment that is pretty much 100% reliant on technology, which is ever changing and always getting better and always innovating.
Yeah.
You have to innovate with it.
Yeah.
John Lasseter from Pixar, his famous quote was, technology inspires art, but art challenges technology. Or I don't know if I got that backwards, but something like that. And so, you can't just find a safe place and comfort zone and just stick with the same thing over and over again. And yeah, it might work. I mean, the stories are good. I mean, at least the ones that I've played are good stories. But like you mentioned, they become stale.
Yeah. Imagine if
Because
other games, like from the Nintendo or Super Nintendo era, like they decide, hey, this is a fun game. Let's just make a sequel or a spin-off or whatever with the exact same mechanics and not try to change it up at all.
yeah,
Like that's an insane mentality. It's not right. I strongly 100% disagree with this mentality of if it ain't broke, don't fix it. No, you got to evolve. You got to constantly, try to strive to become better.
yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna say. Like, if it ain't broke, then find ways to improve it. I mean, not really improve it, but to make it more engaging, to make it even better than it already is. Don't just find what you think is good and then just never improve it. Like, this is good, we don't need to change it because
Yep.
Okay.
You don't need a car because you have a bicycle.
Yeah.
Get that car crap out of my face.
Yeah. But
I
I
already got my
100% agree.
wheels.
Yeah. Like it's they definitely need to innovate. And honestly, the innovation, if they're not going to push forward the genre, they are going to eventually be overtaken by someone who will.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm hearing a lot of really good things about Life is Strange.
yeah, that I was. That's a very good example. And like if you're just gonna stick with what you know best and not take any risks, that's something that you know taking risks is important.
Yeah.
And not enough people take risks when it comes to game design.
Yeah.
AAA developers, they find their comfort zone and they think, okay, this is going to make us money, so let's just keep doing what we're doing. Let's not improve it. You only really see risks being taken by indie devs who
Yeah.
really have nothing to lose, because they're making either their first game or they're a really small group of people, and they have ambitions and they want to try something new, and because they know that if they don't do anything new, then what's the point in buying their game if they're just a small company that's not known? They're not going to be
Yeah.
their name is not going to become anything if they don't do anything different.
It's
Because
understandable to play it safe, but you can only play it safe for so long.
yeah,
You gotta change things up. But yeah, let's move on.
yep.
Only got like less than 10 minutes, so let's wrap this up.
All right.
All right, so Sasha's Party. This is a movie, not a video game, but I still want to talk about this because it's in the entertainment business. And a lot of it involves people who do similar type of work.
Yeah.
So Sasha's Party, the rated R animated movie that came out recently. It's doing really well, getting great reviews, making a lot of money.
Is it like Veggie Tales for adults?
Actually, there is some like religious aspect to it, but it is not a pro-religion aspect. It is
Well, I
like
didn't think it would be if it was rated R. But
yeah. I mean, like it's starring like Seth Rogen, and
because
you
I've not
know.
actually heard of this
Oh, you have
before.
not heard of this
I've not
before?
heard of this before just now, or not. I mean, yeah, when we were talking about the notes before we started recording.
Yeah, this. I mean, like Seth Rogen being a big pothead. Um, it's a from what I understand, this is a crazy movie. Do not watch this while under any influence, otherwise they'll drive you nuts. That's what I've heard about this movie, and I was actually considering watching this because it was getting really good reviews, but not after I've seen these articles that allegedly the animators were treated very poorly, and like basically like half the animation team isn't even credited uh, on the movie itself. Like the a lot of animators worked for free, like overtime, not even getting paid for the hours that they were working, and like this is like one of the allegedly this is like one of the worst cases of animators being mistreated.
Interesting.
Yeah, like it's worse than Life of Pi,
Hmm.
which that movie got so many awards, and then there's like protests or something like that, and because the animators weren't even credited or mentioned or anything like that. So, but either way, this is like allegedly this is like one of the worst cases yet, and yeah, that's not good. I mean, like the where is it? Whoops. Yeah. So nobody wants to put their name out there and risk being blacklisted by the industry. Like they're basically also afraid of getting their names out there, complaining about the studio because they didn't want to be blacklisted and not find more work.
Yeah.
So I mean, if this is true, this is very disappointing. Like I said, I was actually considering watching this movie just because like I've been hearing very good things about it. But now that that these stories are coming out that the animators were mistreated, that's very disappointing.
Yeah.
How do you feel, Kevin, as an you're not quite an animator, you're just a modeler, right?
Yeah.
So how do you feel about this though?
Uh, it does hurt that the especially in a movie like this, which is 100% animated.
Mm-hmm.
If the animators aren't being credited, or like if the animators weren't involved, this movie would not exist.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's a similar issue in just the film industry when it comes to the special effects artists. They usually are not treated well. They're kind of just in general, they're forced to meet unrealistic deadlines. So they have to work, more than overtime, like more than double their hours of like a full-time employee would normally have to, just to make sure that they meet their deadlines and get their work, submitted for the movies. And if you think about it, with however many movies, with the majority of movies that come out these days, most of that is animated. Most of it is CG. Mm-hmm. Most of it is, like very little of it is actually recorded. With a few exceptions, like Mad Max was one of the few movies that actually did real stunts because they wanted to be authentic, and most of the post-process work was just color grading.
We're gonna have to wrap this up. I need to.
Oh, okay. But yeah, so if you're not gonna treat your animators or CG artists right, like they're the ones who are making your movie possible.
Yeah. All right. Let's wrap this up. Stop screen sharing. Let's go into our outro. If you enjoy what you've been hearing, you can support us by liking us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, leave an iTunes review, subscribe to Google Play Music. You can contact us by email. That's podcast@outofcontinues.com. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/outofcontinues. All these can be found on the website. That's www.outofcontinues.com. You can give me a tweet. I am at Sayedstafa. That's at SAYEDSTAFA. And Kevin over here is?
I'm at KS Trehan, KSTREHAN.
I'd like to thank my guest host for joining me today, Mr. Kevin.
Thank you, Stafa.
And with that said, I am your host, Stafa. Boo, 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 boo. Out of here.